Well, hello there. Happy Thursday, everybody. Kirsten here. And Happy New Year if you're listening real time. We are going to do a series of replaying the top hits for the next month or so here at the Decision Masters podcast. I am a Los Angeles resident, and we recently had some pretty terrible fires that you probably heard about in the news or were directly affected by yourself. And I've decided for the next month, I'm going to pause the podcast creation process to free up a little time and energy, be more available for my clients, and be more available to help with the situation that's going on here. I am so grateful and fortunate that my house is okay. And I know many, many people who aren't in the same position. So I'm going to give myself a little space, but did not want to shut production down completely, obviously. We still want the decision mastery coming at you week after week. So I asked my audience to let me know, what do you want to hear about? And you all delivered, and I thank you so much. So the next few episodes you're going to hear are the most requested topics and a few fan favorites that have just consistently gotten responses from people of, dang, I need to hear this today. Today's replay is not actually that old, but it's timely because the new year is a great time to update core values. So we're replaying episode 121, and I'm going to step you through the exact process I use with my coaching clients to identify their core values. And I'm going to let you know the easiest way to do it and how to make the most use of them. And it's going to be so delicious. So I hope you enjoy kicking off your new year with identifying your core values. Hello, everybody. Kirsten here. We're moving. We're still in the process of our move. And by we, I mean me, because just to catch you up or remind you, if you're here for the first time, hello. I promise we're going to get to some decision making. My husband is in his second week shooting the new Netflix show in New Mexico. And I am in Los Angeles, moving us from our 2-bedroom apartment to our new house. We're still in LA. We're still renting. And I got to tell you, I'm excited. So lots of change, lots of exciting stuff happening, lots of work to do, and the perfect time to check in with core values. We were on our, I think, 20th to last group dog walk this morning, and I just had a little conversation with myself. During these times of big change, it is a huge, huge help to me to check in with core values. I want to know what I want influencing my decisions, what I want impacting and directing my decisions. And this does not have to be exclusively at times of change. It can be just in the middle of September on a Tuesday, if that's what you want. But I find it especially helpful if you are looking ahead at, or you're in the middle of some big shifts, personal, professional, financial, geographical, emotional, whatever. To do what we're going to do today, I'm going to walk you through my conversation with myself and make it easy. It does not have to be a laborious process. It can be squishy. It can be the challenging feeling. If you've never, ever, ever done this before, I still want you to commit to doing it. And I promise the more regularly you have these conversations with yourself about your core values, the easier it gets. And then all of a sudden you can update them on a dog walk and be done by the time you're back. So don't worry, it's going to get easier. So I'm going to share what that was for me and how you can do this yourself too. This is something that I ask all of my clients to think about, and I help them work through it if it does feel challenging, because this is not something that everybody thinks about, not something everybody bothers to figure out. What are my core values? It's really easy for people to just assume they know what's important to them, or assume the same things should be important to everyone or are important to everyone. It's easy to assume the same things that were important 10 years ago are still the same most important things. So, what I really encourage people to do when we first start working together is tune into the present moment. The way I like thinking about it is core values can be seasonal. This doesn't mean you are changing the core of who you are every single season. It means the very specific values that you want influencing your decisions are likely going to be different right now than they were 1 year ago, 3 years ago, maybe 6 months ago, depending on what's changed. So the first rule of thumb is forget about any rules that anyone might have taught you or that you might have assumed or picked up along the way. There are no rules. There are no values that you should have on your list. There's no value police that are going to come and say, hey, your job is being a music teacher. Why aren't music or teaching in your core values? If you don't have those things that you think someone might raise an eyebrow at, that's my first piece of advice is let the fear of the value police go. They are not coming for you, right? You don't have to tell these to anybody. And that's the next guideline when we're coming up with these values. They have to be personal. They don't have to make sense to anybody else. They don't have to sound good to anybody else. They get to be what is of value to you right now, no matter what anybody else would think about it, no matter what question somebody would ask about what does this mean? Doesn't matter. It only has to make sense to you when you think about what do I want influencing, guiding, directing my choices. And the last little piece of guidance that we have when we're coming up with our core values or updating them is keep them specific and concise. This means for all of my verbose buddies out there, your value does not want to be a 40-word paragraph. All right. Your value wants to be one word, maybe two words put together. We can't be walking around with these really complex ideas of what's important to us because that's not helpful. It doesn't help us when we are in the middle of making a decision and we need to anchor into, wait, what did I decide is important? How did I decide I want to make decisions right now? Having to reference a novel in order to get that answer, not helpful because you're not going to do it. So we really want to make these specific and concise. You can have 3, 4, 5, but as soon as my clients start forgetting their core values, that's when I say, okay, we either have to update them, we have to put them in your face. I always tell people when they first come up with their core values, write them down somewhere you can easily see every day. So this is not hiding them in your phone. This is not hiding them in a journal where you have to remember to open it and read them. This is like post it on the bathroom mirror, y'all. Super simple, works. But also sometimes when clients start forgetting them, it means there's just too many for them to even remember what they are. So we want to make these really personal and not have 12 and not have them be paragraphs long so that you can actually make use of them. It's going to be a waste of your time to go through thinking through all this stuff if none of it ever makes an impact. And that's not going to help you feel like you know yourself better and trust your choices more. And that's what we are going for here. Okay. So to recap our guidelines, we're going to make it current. We're going to check in with what is of top value to you right now, no matter what may have been important in the past. What do you want influencing your choices right now in this current season of your life? Make it personal. Make sure you like them. They resonate with you. They make sense to you. Don't worry about explaining or justifying them to anybody else. And make them specific and concise. I'm going to now walk you through my process because I really want to encourage you that it can be as simple as a conversation with yourself. As I was walking the dogs and we had to sidestep a cigarette butt because well, that's where we live and it's a big reason why we're moving. I don't want to deal with the parts of the environment here that I don't really love. It occurred to me that one of the core values that I really want influencing my decisions right now, especially as I move into this new house and start setting things up. One of my core values is happy environment. Now, when I said this to myself, I was like, okay, is happy what I want? What if it's like nourishing? Is that what's really important? Or easy? Maybe that's what's important. And then I just thought about it for a second. I was like, nope, you know what? The thing that I rebel against the most here where we currently live, and the thing that I am most looking forward to about where we're moving is the happiness factor. I really want my environment, inside, outside vibes, to just help me be happy. And I want to name that as a core value because I want that influencing my choices. We have to do some dog proofing in the back. We have to do some dog proofing in the front. We have to do a lot of dog things for this place. I want this happy environment core value influencing the choices I make. I don't want to slap anything together that's going to be ugly, but it'll work. I don't want to rush or half ass anything if I could make it better in the long run. I don't want to skimp on anything or rush any decisions that will really impact the happiness factor of my environment. So that's going to give me a lot of permission when it comes to how I think through the choices of how to set things up, where to put things, what to add, what to take away. Which brings us to the second core value that I know is really important to me right now. And I do still want influencing my choices, which is financial security. My husband's a camera operator. He was out of work for almost an entire year because of the writer strike. And that was a scary time for someone with anxiety over here. I went back on anxiety medication. We did a lot of therapy sessions to talk through the decisions we were making. Not a fun time for me, still recovering kind of emotionally and financially from that period of time. So we have a great plan in place. He's been working, he's continuing to work. It's amazing. I have my spreadsheet. I go in once a week and do all of the money things, all the bill paying, all of the recording. We set up a plan that we feel good about with our financial advisor for how to move forward from this. And I really want to stick to that. So that core value is going to be influencing decisions too, because while one half of my brain is going to want to instantly decorate the entire back patio with a brand new barbecue and dining area and loungy patio furniture, we're not going to do that right away because we have a plan and we're going to stick to the plan so that our core value of financial security is satisfied. Now, I want you to notice I'm not anxious about these two core values fighting. Sometimes people get nervous because they have two things that they've listed as important to them. They have family and work, let's say, if we're going to keep it super vague. I have happy environment and financial security. But Kirsten, how are you going to make your environment happy if you can't repaint everything and get new curtains and get new wardrobes and get new patio furniture and get a new barbecue all at once? I don't want you to worry about your core values fighting because the point of all of this is for you to feel like you are working with yourself, that you are satisfying what's important to you. And you know that you are a complex, multi layered, lovely person. You have a lot of committee members at the table in your mind. Not just one thing is going to be important to you. We want you feeling like you're making decisions that take all of your values into account, that you've given yourself a chance to advocate for what really matters to you. What we don't want happening is you going through the motions and autopiloting some decisions and then feeling like you didn't have a choice or you're not getting anything you want. We don't want you neglecting your value of happy environment because you're in scarcity mode and think, I can't spend any money right now. So we have to sit in the dark and not turn any lights on and never buy a curtain. We also don't want the complete 180 opposite where you max out credit cards with abandon to happify your environment. And then part of you is secretly spinning in circles with anxiety because this does not line up with the financial plan that you had. The same thing will go for the values that you set up. Every single time my clients have been worried that their values are going to fight, what ends up happening in reality is they feel like they're having more comprehensive and honest and substantive, thorough conversations with themselves as they think through decisions. They don't feel like, well, I'm between a rock and a hard place because if I do this, then I'm abandoning this value. But if I do this, then I'm losing out over here. What they actually feel like is, wow, I've taken everything into consideration that matters to me. I've passed the mic to every committee member at the table, and I feel heard by myself. And now I'm going to put my CEO hat on and make the executive decision and feel like I'm doing it from on my own team as my own leader with my own best interests at heart. Isn't that kind of magical? Okay, so the next core value that I was thinking through, and this is just me talking to myself again, right? And my main question I keep asking myself is, what do I want influencing my choices? The next core value that rose to the surface was good work. I checked in with, okay, well, what really matters? Is it good work with integrity? Is it doing a good job? Is it professionalism? You can really label anything any way you want. It has to make sense and sound true to you. Where I landed was plain and simple good work. I'll be honest with you, work took a little bit of a back seat as we decided very quickly to find a new place to live, for me to start packing things up, get us over to the other side of town. And I made a lot of changes because of that. We are not going to do the Decision Masters program anymore. at the end of 2024 as I was planning, looking ahead at what I would have to put into that in order to feel like I was doing a good job executing it. And then looking ahead at what I was going to be in charge of here. There were too many unknowns and there was too much guaranteed work to be done by myself on the personal front. I wasn't going to be able to give what I wanted to give launching a whole decision masters program. So I decided what matters is doing good work for my existing clients, showing up the way I need to show up, putting valuable content out into the world, hence the podcast we do while we still have more packing waiting for us. So this value is going to really help me not have a lot of back and forth when I want to keep setting up the new kitchen, but I really should record the next podcast. Or when I want to stay up really late installing my stick and peel wallpaper, but I know I have to show up mentally ready for sessions the next day. Naming this as a core value is going to really help simplify a lot of choices because I love my clients. I love my job. And even though I'm not going to be working as many hours on it as I would if there was nothing else to do, I know what really, really matters to me is, am I still helping people? Am I still asking the best questions I can? Am I still keeping my clients top of mind and giving them my best brain when I'm on the clock? And I don't need it to be fancier than that. Good work is clear enough for me. Again, you can name yours whatever you want: excellence, mastery, professionalism, impact, whatever is important to you that you want specifically influencing and driving your choices right now. The next core value that I came up with on my little dog walk, and I was thinking through what decisions am I going to be making? A lot of how to set things up, how to start structuring my days with this new routine where I don't have to leash up 3 dogs and walk downstairs and hope I don't get yanked to my doom. The core value that again rose to the surface was what I want, not fancier or more complicated than that. But here's what I realized: I want to involve Kenny in this as much as I can. He's not here physically, and I don't know what it's like to have your whole household moved and changed while you're out of town, besides sounding really convenient and nice. As a control enthusiast, feel like I wouldn't super love it because I don't get to be in charge of anything. Now, Kenny's not as a control enthusiast as I am. So he's happy to weigh in where he wants to and then have me set it up because he trusts me to do a good job. So it kind of works out. But I still do want to include him. And what I realized is if I do not instruct myself to pump the brakes and think about, wait, what do you want? I can have a tendency to want to be agreeable and want to go along with things, especially because he is very confident about a lot of stuff, and then end up second guessing my choices and then not feeling great and then having to question things and then having to figure out, wait, why don't I feel good about this? And it creates complications. The easiest example I have of this is when we were arranging our move in date, move out date, lease start date, blah, 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 blah. He just was very clear on what he thought was the best option. He said, the way I've always done it is you have a minimal overlap. So if our lease starts there and then 4 days later it ends here, then the movers come and then done. That's what makes sense. And I noticed that, I was going along with what he thought was best because I've had a weird wandering life, you guys. I've never done a clear cut move between this department and that department and lease start and lease stop. I've followed actor boyfriends around the country on tour and moved apartments, I don't know, 6 times in Santa Barbara when I lived there for college and then afterwards working. And it was always a very hodgepodgey, like moving with friends, like, yeah, I don't know, put some stuff in your truck. I don't know what. And I lived in the same place the entire 3 years getting my master's at Yale. So I've moved a lot, but it has never been this clear cut of lease start, lease end, drive your stuff around the town. So I was inclined to trust his opinion and just go along with it until I noticed my emotions and I noticed how good I did not feel about his plan. So what I realized is, uh, Parker, he's not going to be here. You are. You're going to be in charge of this. You're going to be doing all of it. You have to think about what you want and how you want to do it. It's okay if, it doesn't make sense to him or he doesn't like it. He's not here and you are. So the truth is, to simplify a lot of decisions going forward, I have to prioritize this question: what do I want? It would be very easy for me to complicate decisions and think about, well, what would he want? And what would be best for him when he's living here? And the truth is, y'all, I'm going to be living by myself for the better part of a year right now. So it's okay if I just set things up the way I want, physically in the house and structure wise to my day and what makes the dogs the easiest for me. I'm going to have to go ahead and say, I'm going to prioritize what I want. And if we need to change things later to accommodate what he wants or what we want together, we'll do that later. Okay. And the final core value I came up with, we're almost back from the dog walk, and I had listed these things out. Again, this podcast episode is so much longer than my conversation with myself just because I'm explaining everything. I'd gone through what do I want influencing my decisions. I'd really kind of time traveled to a few months in the future and thought about what will have made me happy with my choices by the end of the year. What will I look back on and be happy with if I prioritized making my environment happy and embracing and appreciating it too? That core value is really, having active gratitude and savoring the happiness of my new environment. Doesn't even need to involve new curtains, right? So if I have done that, I will be happy in a few months. If I have not maxed out credit cards with abandon, just so I could get my little patio furniture set up, I will be happy if I see the progress in our financial plan that I want to see. If I have done good work, if I have showed up for my podcast every week and concentrated just on that and left everything on the rest of the to-do list lying down, we'll get to it later. If I showed up for my clients, if I did good coaching, I will be happy with that. If I prioritize what I want and I didn't feel like I was compromising and sacrificing and making myself small and bending myself into weird little pretzels for no good reason, if I really took into account what I wanted in a few months, I'll be really happy with that. And then the last thing that occurred to me when I was thinking about, well, what's going to really make a difference a few months from now? What's going to put me in the place that I really want to be? It's if I kept up with my other relationships. My husband ain't here and we're going to chat. It's fine. But I really want to make sure that I don't get so wrapped up with my move or fitting work in where I can outside of the move that I don't have any time for friend dinners, friend catch ups, leaving my new beautiful house to go out into the world and see people. So, nourishing relationships became the fifth core value in my updated set. For me, the adjective nourishing and not just leaving it at relationships, period, helps because I don't want to do anything out of obligation. I don't want to force myself out if I really, really, really don't feel like it, or if it feels like the thing I should do, but don't really want to do. I can trust myself, especially with the balance of the rest of the core values I have going on here, to be honest about what I want, what I need, where I'm at. I want this core value to be influencing my decisions because I want to make my plans. I want to see my people. I want to also keep up with what's going on for them. I want to show up for people who need me, who are going through whatever they're going through, and make sure that it's still nourishing for me, that I don't deplete myself, that I don't overdo it, that I don't underdo it. So I'm not sharing my specific core values with you right now because they're the best and they're good and they're right and you should have them too. Like I said, they might not make sense to you and it doesn't matter, right? I'm sharing them with you in this specific way so that you can get a sense of what these conversations with yourself can be like, what this exercise of going through what matters to me really looks like in real life, in real time. So use these questions to help you. What do I want influencing my decisions right now? And what will I be happy with a few months from now? If I have done this, if I've tended to that, if I've avoided this, and use your answers to work your way to what's the value that's going to help me do this, show up for that, show up in this way, avoid doing that. What's the value that's going to help me get where I want to go? All right. I really hope you seize an opportunity to find and articulate or update your core values right now, especially if there's some change going on in your life. It can be really, really empowering to not only know where do I stand on things, what matters to me in life, and really own that and really feel good about this is the person that I'm deciding to be on purpose. Like I said, not a lot of people bother to do that. It can also be really energizing and help you feel like you're taking your whole self into account and make choices you might not otherwise make because that aligns with that value. Oh, I wouldn't have done that normally, but since I said this value here is really important right now, I'm going to go ahead and do this or consider that. What a fun way to live where you feel like you are letting yourself be heard and giving yourself what you want. Like I said, we are not doing the Decision Masters program any longer this calendar year, but I am still working with people in the Alignment and Accountability Club, a month to month membership style coaching group where you can focus on one thing at a time. You have one primary goal that you want help executing and prioritizing and overcoming obstacles about. That is where you need to be. I'm also working with people privately one on one if it's time for you to get all of your values articulated and start living in alignment with them and make some powerful decisions that aren't as bogged down by overthinking and people pleasing and procrastinating, that's where you belong. And I'm working with people short term. So you can book a make a decision package and basically have a life coach for 2 weeks where we focus on a primary decision, get you set up and solid on what am I deciding? How am I executing it? And we answer all of the questions and doubts that are going to keep you spinning around this thing for potentially months and years to come. So lots of options to work together still, lots of options to get you in alignment, in action, trusting your choices. Go to kirstenparker.com/schedule to set up a chat to talk about options. And I can't wait to talk to you soon. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.